What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Cheap Seats Podcast. I'm Wire to Wire Gene, and joining us is the Prince of Production, Kyle Edwards. How you feeling tonight, Kyle?
I'm good. How you doing? Ready for another show? Got some great topics, and I know the chat's going to be going on some of these, so I'm ready to go.
I promise you, I will get the chat rolling with my overrated quarterback. We'll get into that shortly. Directly below me, welcome back. He took a week off. We allow people to take a week off. They got to go to work. They got to go on vacation. We're not slave drivers over here. We let people take that time off. But coming back after his week off, we got Dylan Reed. How you feeling tonight, Dylan?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I just had a schedule mix-up. Won't happen again, but overall, yeah, I had to take a week off. I'm excited to be back. It's been a while because of the 4th of July, so it's been about a good week since I've been on any show, so I'm excited to be back.
The beatings will continue until morale improves. So, I apologize, Dylan, but we're going to have to keep beating you if you miss a show again.
It's okay. I can take it. I'm strong-willed.
And back on the Sports Empire Network, this is a staple of the pre-gaming pigskin show. My man, my friend, taking it deep with the Godfrey. How we feeling tonight, the?
What's up? Just blowing some dust off the equipment. I've been off for about a month and a half.
You're not allowed to see, this is what I mean. We give people time off, weeks off, days off, and they have to blow dust off their equipment. They're not prepared. They're not ready. I'm just kidding, Godfrey. How you feeling?
I'm good, man. Can't complain. Getting ready for football season coming up and just trying to find some sports to be interested in this time of year. This is the tough part of the year. Mm-hmm. Baseball's around, but, Home Run Derby.
Baseball's fun. Home Run Derby's tonight. We got some topics tonight. We have 2 NBA topics. We have 2 NFL topics. We're going to start on the hardwood. We only have 90 minutes. You know how these shows go. The debates get intense. So let's start on the hardwood.
All right.
Kyle Edwards, your question.
Yeah, so we learned the details about the in-season tournament and everything. It's been I think people have been kind of 50-50 with it. But now that we know the teams that are in the groups, I just want to know, the format is the 3 group winners move on, and then the best second-place team moves out of the group stage. What would be your prediction sitting here today of the 4 teams from the West and the East that make it out from these groups?
Why don't you start us off, Kyle? Because I'm sharing the groups out right now. I'm sharing everything out to all the groups. Let's go with Kyle, Dylan, me, and Godfrey. We'll let Godfrey go forth so we can sheet off our answers. I know he's not a big NBA guy, so we got to help him out a little bit. Yeah. Look at him with the iPad. He's scrambling. I'm kidding.
All right, so I'll start in the West. So West A, this group was really tough. So I'm going to go with the Suns. I know, questions about depth or whatever, whether it will work. It says it starts November 3rd. I feel like the 4 of them should be in somewhat of a rhythm by then. So I think they'll win West A. West B, another tough group. I mean, if the Clippers are completely healthy, they could be factors, but I think I'll go with the Nuggets in B. C might be a surprise. I do think this season tournament might bring some upsets and all that. West C, I'm going to go with the Thunder to win Group C.
Okay.
And that's only because I feel like with the Thunder.
Give me your wild card. Give me your wild card in the West. Give me the 4
So the wild card in the West. This is even tougher. I'm going to go. So I was caught between I'll go with the Lakers. The Lakers will be the wild card team.
You just made so many people in the chat very happy that you went with the Lakers. That's really nice of you.
Well, they're probably going to be like, oh, no, we're winning West A. You know how it is. They got to win it all. So I'll have them as the wild card team in the West. For the East now, East A, another interesting group. I mean, look at it. Sixers, Cavs, Pacers. I will go. Part of me wants to go Pacers in A. I'll go with the Pacers to win Group A for the East. B, I'm going with the Bucks because, I mean, I think they're the best team in that group. Although it'll be tough, depending on what the Heat do. We know the rumors that are out there and everything. And the Knicks, I think, will do well in this tournament, but I just got the Bucks winning that one. C, I got the Celtics winning it. No, that's not a homer pick. I do think that they are the best team in that group. Wildcard team. This is tough as well. I'm going to go with the Cavs as the wildcard in the East.
Okay, so you have – let's just go through it real quick.
So I got –
disrespect is real on the Philadelphia 76ers, who should win Group A, but you have two teams coming out of there that aren't the 76ers.
I
Go haterade. It's okay.
I'm just saying. So I got the Suns, Nuggets, Thunder, Lakers wildcard in the West. I got Pacers, Bucks, Celtics, Cavs wildcard in the East.
Okay. Dylan, give me your picks.
Okay, so make it pretty simple to start off with West A. I'm going to go with the Suns. Just not really to piggyback too much off of Kyle's. I do think it will be in that November time. They'll have a lot more time that they've played together, a lot more chemistry. I do think they're the best team out of that little Group A section. I think the Suns will get it done in Group A. And then it's pretty simple on Group B as well, too. Going the Nuggets, the reigning NBA champs. I don't think the Clippers or the Mavericks really have enough to, maybe beat them in that game. I'm not sure how competitive these series are going to be. I'm not sure what the draw is. I'm not going to sure how all these players are going to play. So if the Nuggets are playing like it's a big game for them, I feel like the Nuggets should win on paper. And then for West C, I do like Kyle's pick of the Thunder, but I feel like the Thunder would be more of a wild card pick. So I'm going to go pick the Kings on this one. I feel like a lot of people discredited them last season. They're still going to be a very good team this year. I think they'll shock a lot of people, get their little revenge on the Warriors for that playoff series last season, and they'll win this West C area. And then if I had to pick a wild card, I'm thinking I'm going to go OKC. I do think they have some favorable matchups playing the Timberwolves and the Spurs, more than like what the Grizzlies would have having to play the Suns, Lakers, maybe even the Jazz. Trailblazers could be tough. The Pelicans have to play like the Mavericks, Clippers, Nuggets. I feel like when you look at the Thunder, they have a chance to upset a team like the Warriors, maybe beat the team like the Kings, be 4-1 in their little round robin stage and be able to get a wild card spot. And then when I get on to the East, I think the team I have winning the East is I'm going to go with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I do like the Pacers pick. I do like the 76ers pick. But overall, I think this Cleveland team is going to be a lot better. I think they made a lot of mistakes last year. I think they're going to be a lot more – they're going to have a lot more progression on the team. I do think they're playing very well in the Summer League right now. I do like the rookies that they did get. Some of their signings were questionable. Not sure if I would give Dean Wade as much money – well, not Dean Wade, Max Strus as much money as they did. But they did need a kind of a scoring three. Is what it is. On the East B side, I'm going to go with the Bucks. I feel like they're the best team here. I think the Knicks could probably give them a little bit of run for their money. Maybe the Heat, but this isn't the playoffs, so Jimmy Butler probably won't be playing as good as if it was a normal playoff series. I'm going to go with the Bucks with this one. I think they're the best overall team. Think they'll just get it done in that area. And then East C, I think the Celtics will get it done. They got the easiest pick out of all of these teams. They don't have to face anyone who is really a legit playoff contender. I know the Nets were last year, but that's because Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving carcasses kind of carried it to that point. And the Nets picked up from there. And then if I had to pick a wild card, I'm going to pick the 76ers as my wild card. I think overall Joel Embiid's still a great center, a great player. I think, in these big game atmospheres, I think they'll be really good. Another sleeper team I could see maybe being the Nets, because that conference is just so weak. You get to play the Raptors, Bulls, Magic, and maybe only lose to the Celtics. That could probably get you a good wild card spot as well.
Okay, so I get to go. That's about time. I got to tell you guys, the disrespect on the 76ers is real.
I had them as a wild card.
I'll get to that in a second. The Cleveland Cavaliers aren't beating the 76ers. I'm going to call it like it is. But we'll get into that in a second. West A, I think the best team on paper to start the season. You have all a bunch of old guys that are healthy and that can play together. I like the Phoenix Suns. They are the pick in West A. It's a sweep so far. In West B, I'm going with the Denver Nuggets. They're the best team in the NBA. Their depth is still there. You still have Nikola Jokic, defending champion. That team's great. West C, you guys went Kings and Thunder. I guess we'll go with a different one for everybody. Give me the Golden State Warriors. You guys realize they just brought in Chris Paul, right? Chris Paul is going to help the development of a lot of those wing players, particularly Jonathan Kuminga. I listened to Draymond Green's podcast recently, and what Draymond Green said was the impact that Chris Paul will have won't show on Steph, Clay, or Draymond, but it will show on the young guys, the athletic guys, particularly Jonathan Kuminga. I think Kuminga takes a huge step forward, could be in the running for most improved player this year, and I believe Chris Paul's going to end up running that second-team offense a ton. So I'll go with the Phoenix Suns. I think they have a ton of depth pieces, and I think the Golden State Warriors are going to be dominant this year. So what about the wild card? Well, that's really interesting. Do the Clippers start the season with everybody? I love Ty Lue. I love their roster as a whole, and I think they're going to end up with James Harden. So based off of that, I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Clippers to be the wild card team in the West. So let's go to the East. I'm going to go backwards on this one. The Celtics have the easiest draw ever. They have 4 teams that aren't trying to win, and then them. So I'm going to go with Boston in East C. In East B, I'm going to go with the New York Knicks. The Milwaukee Bucks always start the season slow. They're a slow starting team. I don't think Chris Middleton's going to be completely ready or completely healthy to start the year. And Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat are not great starters in the regular season. That's not playoff Jimmy. That's regular season Jimmy. So I'm going to go with the Knicks in East B. In East A, I'm going with the Philadelphia 76ers. You act like we're not going to get anything back for James Harden. They have Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, who won the MVP last year, and Tobias Harris all on the roster, and you're going to get depth for James Harden. I love what the 76ers are going to look like to start the year without James Harden and having a motivated Joel Embiid. One of the things Joel Embiid said about 2 weeks after the season ended, Daryl Morey had a conversation with him and told him that the thing he can improve on most is being available and ready in the playoffs. He took that as a challenge with conditioning, and he's been in the lab the entire offseason. So I got the 76ers winning East A. Let's go with the wild card in the East. I think the Milwaukee Bucks will be the best team that does not make it. So I'll go with the Milwaukee Bucks as my wild card.
I like it.
Godfrey?
All right. Wow. When did basketball become soccer? Like, what's going on here?
Oh, the group draws.
Yeah, no, I knew. I read about that and stuff. That's interesting. It's cool, good on them for trying something different. Been reading about free agency. I'm going to start with West C because that was the one I thought about earlier. I think Chris Paul going there and Draymond Green staying solidifies that team to come out of West C. I think the veterans reload, and some people, they like to count out Steph Curry, and when they do, sometimes he ends up, showing up. So I think he's a good team player as far as a superstar goes, and he makes people better around him. And Chris Paul is going to be a facilitator there. I mean, what more can you ask for? So the question is, will they stay healthy? So that's what I see coming out of West C. West A. I mean, it's definitely not going to be Portland because where's Dame going to be? Would that even happen if he was? But with that being said, the Lakers didn't do a ton, but they made some moves that, I think they lost a little bit of depth, but, Russell stayed. I see them coming out of A. Losing Paul, and I know the Suns are going to lack some depth now. I don't know if they're going to be able to come out, the winners in the West, but you never know. Health is always a big concern for AD and the Lakers, so that can rapidly change their standing, in my opinion. But I see the Lakers coming out. West B, you got to go with the Nuggets, the defending champs. They did lose some bench, some depth to the Pacers. What is it? Bruce
Brown.
Bruce Brown went to the Pacers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, he couldn't turn down that kind of money. So I see them coming out. Wild card out of that, I'm going to go with the Mavericks. I feel like the Mavericks would have been in trouble if they didn't re-sign Irving with all they gave up for him. They reinvested in him. I think the Mavericks are going to be the wild card. I'm getting the format right? It's winners of the bracket and then the wild card, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
All right.
All right, give us the East. You better go 76ers, man.
Something tells me I was. Well, we'll go with the Celtics. They're getting a cupcake draw. Like, that is the cupcake, bracket of brackets. I mean, that's cupcake. So we're just going to go Celtics there. In the East, I mean, B, man, it's kind of to be determined. I mean, if Dame Lillard ends up forcing his way to Miami, I mean, how could you not pick the Heat, right? The Knicks, I don't know, man. They give me that vanilla feeling. Like, yeah, they're a little bit better, but they feel like, to me, when I watch them, like the Sixers when Andre Iguodala was their main guy. I don't feel like they're going to really blast off, but I'm going to just go on a limb and say Heat here because I'm going to gamble and say they're going to get Damian Lillard, forces his way there. In East A, it's got to be the Sixers. I mean, is there anybody really? I mean, yeah, the Cavs, you got Donovan Mitchell, but I mean, I don't know if I really saw anything from them last year. I do watch a lot of Sixers basketball, and I did see them play the Cavs, and they weren't a team that really struck any fear in my heart. I don't see them busting past the Sixers. So I do see the Sixers getting out there. I think the Sixers will get something for James Harden, and I feel like it's addition by subtraction. I don't know what they get for him. I don't even think they need a superstar. I think by him not being on the team, it will improve the overall performance of the team because I just think James Harden is that guy that's like he wants to do what he's going to do, and that's it, right? I mean, basically got Doc canned, and then he was like, oh, by the way, I'm out. Like, he opted in, but he's not really here. So Sixers got that. As far as a wild card, man, that side of the Eastern Conference, it just seems a little wild to me. But I'll go with the Bucks too. I mean, you got Giannis, so I mean that's a +1 there always. But Sixers are going to come out of the East A, and it's going to be Celtics. Probably going to see them in the playoffs again. And if get Dame,
the 76ers are a regular season team. Right. Guys, this isn't the playoffs.
Right.
This isn't the playoffs. We don't have to worry about them choking in the playoffs. The 76ers are a regular season team. Look, I could joke about my own team. I'll be honest with you guys. The 76ers in the playoffs come up short. This is the regular season. You got a fully healthy Joel Embiid to start the year. You got Tyrese Maxey, who's the fastest guy in the NBA. You got Tobias Harris, who's once proved the doubters wrong. I think with that lineup, just removing James Harden, getting nothing back for him, is still the best team in the East A.
Tobias Harris, if he gets traded, I'll be glad to never hear his dad talk again. What was he? He called him a silent sniper, or is that what he called him?
He called him an assassin scorer.
Oh, an assassin.
Yeah, scoring.
Yeah. Assassin my ass.
Look, I don't blame Tobias Harris for what he got. He got his money. He got traded.
Me either.
Signed an extension. That's not his fault. The 76ers front office screwed him. They didn't screw him. They overpaid him, but it screwed him in the faces of the fans because he's getting overpaid. We all know that, right? That's not what I'm not worried about that. I'm not upset with that. Did he just pick the Hornets as a wild card? How? Come on, Bino.
I assumed he's
excited for that Miles Bridges comeback.
Yeah,
Miles Bridges and Brandon Miller.
I guess.
Hey.
Yeah,
I'll
the
put it
thing
this way. Yo, Bino, if the Hornets are the wild card, I'll wear a T-shirt on here saying Bino was right. I can't see that.
He has to be a Hornets fan, doesn't he?
Is he?
Has
I don't
to
know.
be.
I know
check his-
Bino's a
check his
Cowboys
Twitter.
fan. I know he's a Cowboys fan. It's the one thing I don't like about him. I'm kidding. All right, let's move on to question 2. NBA also. Dylan Reed, tell us what your question is, my friend.
So basically, we're dwindling down to the NBA offseason point. We're getting into summer leagues. We saw the draft. A lot of free agents are being picked up. I mean, the only big news or big rumblings that we have will be probably a Damian Lillard trade. Will probably be the biggest thing we have, maybe a Pascal Siakam trade. But overall, what NBA team do you think could make, for example, a Kings-like rise, a team that you didn't think were going to make the playoffs, maybe had some good off-season moves, maybe you saw some things from their rookies and their second-year guys in the summer league, free agency moves, different things like that. What team do you think could be at a worst to first kind of mentality, or at least shock a lot of people and make a lot of splashes, or like their free agent or draft moves were big enough splashes to make you think they'll be better than what they were last season?
You got to tell us the order, though, Dylan.
Okay, so we'll start with Gene. We'll go Kyle, me, and then Godfrey last again, since give him some time.
So I'm going to say something that's going to sound crazy, but I really believe that the Memphis Grizzlies have gotten dramatically better by adding a veteran leader at the point guard position, an adult in the room, and Marcus Smart. I think Marcus Smart's an underrated leader as a whole. He was the leader of that Celtics team with Tatum and Brown both on the team. They both looked up to Big Bro, Marcus Smart. So I think the Memphis Grizzlies are one of the biggest winners in the NBA by adding Marcus Smart to their roster. Second, I love the Houston Rockets and what the Houston Rockets are doing. How do you not like what they're doing? They have talent everywhere. You bring in Fred VanVleet to run the offense. You draft Amen Thompson. You draft Cam Whitmore. You already have Jalen Green there. They have stud after stud after stud on that roster. And you add a coach like Ime Udoka that can come in there and go, here you go. This is the way to win. I've won before. I've been to a finals. I think the Rockets are the most improved team. Now, you said improved, and then what team fell off the most, right? So I got to give you a bad team, a team that I think that lost the offseason, right? Well, just looking at it from a sense of where they were in the playoff picture last year versus where they'll be this year, it's difficult, right? Because there's a lot of teams that really didn't do anything. It was a very stagnant offseason. But if I'm looking at a team that I think went backwards and just a little bit backwards, I think it's the Boston Celtics. I don't mean to say that they went significantly backwards. I don't understand the loss of the leadership that Marcus Smart brings to the team to replace it with Kristaps Porzingis. If Porzingis goes in there, I don't know how he's going to fit. They're trying to create lane spacing. I don't like their coach. I thought they should have fired him this offseason. I think Joe Mazzulla is very I don't say overrated because I don't think anybody thinks he's good, but I think he's out of his own league. I think he's out. I think the Boston Celtics have had the steepest drop this offseason, but I don't think anybody's really dropped. The offseason hasn't been crazy. Like I could say Washington, right? But they sucked before. What happened? They lost Bradley Beal, but they stunk before. I can't say anybody else. Like I can't say the Dallas Mavericks. I don't think they're going to be better this year, but they brought Kyrie back and they can't be worse. They didn't make the playoffs. So I'm be interested to hear what your teams are that you think fell off or took a step backwards.
I'm going next, right? All right.
Yep.
So the team that I think will make a leap of sorts, I'm going to go with the Pacers. And that's kind of maybe an easy pick because before Halliburton got hurt, they were like the 5th or 6th seed in the East anyway. So I'm banking on Halliburton being healthy. That's one. But two, I love the addition of Bruce Brown, who's a good role player. He understands what he's going to need to do coming in off the bench. He'll guard tough wings. I think that's a great move. I think a sneaky move might be the fact that they stole Obi Toppin from the Knicks for basically nothing because the Knicks obviously don't have plans for him. I think with Halliburton, there's a lob threat there. I think he'll flourish there as well. They still have Miles Turner. They still have Buddy Hield, at least for now. They got Mathurin, who I know, Gene, you're very high on, and this is going to be his second year. So you expect to see more of an improvement from him, which could be scary because he was already pretty good last year. So as long as Halliburton stays healthy, I think the Pacers are definitely going to be back in that maybe 4 to 5 seed type area after they missed everything this past year. A team I'm down on, and this is kind of contingent upon them making that move that everybody's assuming, I would be down on the Heat, but if they get Dame, obviously that would make their offseason look a little better. Because if you're going to tell me if they strike out somehow on Dame, that their offseason's basically been losing Vincent and losing Strus, that's it. They bring back
they
the
got
same
Thomas
team.
Bryant.
Okay,
throw a
back to
parade.
what Kyle just said. That's it.
Yeah, and it's just
I'm kidding.
That's why I made the joke.
That's a great pick. I I think I assumed that they're gonna get Dame. So
right, and I think that's the assumption most people have. It's just that if Portland's gonna stick to their guns and get the best, package available, I still don't know if that's Miami unless you bring in a third team, which could get interesting in that aspect. But for right now, I'll say Miami is going to be my team I'm down on.
I just kind of want your just sidebar, and I do this all the time. But am I the only one that thinks that is tired of hearing, will the Trailblazers do right by Dame? I said this to Control the other night, and it drives me nuts, right?
Yes.
He signed the extension.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
4-year extension last year.
Yeah.
Why are we talking about the Blazers need to do right by Dame? You know what was right by Dame? Giving him a max extension. He's making $50 million a year. That's doing right by Dame.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's stop pretending that this is some wrong thing that they're doing if they want to trade him for a better package to somewhere outside of Miami. You sign an extension, then you ask for a trade without a no trade clause, and then you ask for a trade to a specific team. Like, no, bro. Sorry. I mean, we'll try to can you give me 3 teams? Can you give me 4 teams? I'll try to accommodate you. I'm not going to argue with you, force you to stay and play out your 3 years on your contract. But what really bothers me is that the narrative around the NBA is we need to do right by Dame.
Yep.
He's been loyal.
Yeah, no, I agree with that a lot because at the end of the day, it's a business. Like Dame signed that extension. If the team is like, hey man, we're gonna wait until we get whatever we think you're valued as, like that's what we're gonna get, just so we don't set ourselves back. Like they're doing right by Dame by giving him all that money, like you said. Like he's getting paid regardless if he's on that Trailblazers team or not. So the team waiting and deciding like, hey, we're gonna wait until we find a package that we like, because this is a business at the end of the day. I think it's wild that people are saying that, like, why isn't he traded yet? Because they probably haven't got anything good yet.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's all Portland's supposed to do. Get the best for them.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but when I hear that, it just drives me up a wall. Like Dame Lillard gets the most idolization from a guy that's never won anything I've ever seen in my life.
He's a small market superstar.
Exactly.
Hey, you're preaching to the choir. I'm right there.
And you know, the thing about Dame is, and like he could say he wants to go to Miami, but at the end of the day, I don't know if it happens or not. He could, and that's the thing where, like, I think it hurts the game when a player could, like, I want to go here, and you just signed that contract. There's a balance to everything, and I think it's a little out of whack. If he gets to go where he wants to go after that circumstance, I just think the NBA is broken as far as free agency and
what is broken?
Players.
James Harden did it. Bradley Beal did it. All these superstars do it. They don't care. They sign that massive extension, and 1 year in, they ask out. I mean, look at Kevin Durant. He signed the extension with Brooklyn. 1 year later, can you trade me? I need to get out of here. Bradley Beal signs a supermax 5-year supermax deal. 1 year into it, he's trade me out of here. Dame Lillard signs a 4-year contract. 1 year in, trade me out of here. James Harden signs a contract with Houston. 1 year in, trade me out of here.
Yeah, that's
I don't want to hear it. I'm so sick of guys making $50 million a year to play basketball, 1 year into a 4-year contract being like, trade me. I'm going to you. And they're using the NBA's bird rights to players as a way to get more money from their current team, which it's designed to keep superstars in the same fan base.
Mm-hmm.
And they're using it as leverage to get a higher contract and then forcing their way out of there. And James Harden is the king of this. I'm just going to show up fat. I'm going to gain 20 pounds, and you're going to need to trade me because my value is going to be depleted.
Yeah, I think James Harden, that's the thing. Athletes today, I sound like an old man yelling at the clouds. But, when I remember basketball from back in the day.
When I remember basketball.
Yeah, when they were using square baskets and leather ball. No, just when there's no adversity, right? Like Jordan and guys like that, they faced adversity. They didn't leave. They had to face it. They had to work with what they had. They had to push through. You had to exist with either. I remember hearing the story of Steve Kerr getting punched in the face by Michael Jordan. If that happened in today's game, like I need to be traded immediately. I have emotional damage. They settled it like men, went on and won a championship. I just feel like the modern day NBA facilitates that way too much, and it hurts the fan base because you got this load management. You have the stars not really being there when you're paying to see them. So I'm not going on a tangent here, but that the Dame thing kind of gets on my crawl too, because you just sign that money and you're like, I want to, not only do I want to be traded, I want to be traded exactly to where I want to go. If you wanted to go somewhere else, don't sign the contract to take that extra money with the bird rights. That's what it's for, right? And then ask to be traded. I think the next bargaining happens, and this probably won't happen, but they should say, hey, there's a clawback clause on the money you get for staying with the team if you get traded. It comes back.
I think we definitely went off the deep end of this question. And I take full blame for this, but I agree with everything Godfrey just said.
Agreed.
Yeah. Dylan.
Yes.
Give me your teams.
So I did pick the Rockets as my first team, as a team I thought that was going to do really good. Basically, with everything that Gene said. Great offseason when it comes to just drafting. They're having great play from guys like Jabari Smith and Tari Eason in the summer league right now. Jabari Smith is playing out of his mind right now in the summer league. They also have Alfred Sengun. They have a lot of young pieces, and they spent so much money in free agency to fill in little gaps and holes that they need. This could be a team that I could see if they made it like a 6th seed or a 7th seed, you wouldn't be like, that's not really too crazy. That's understandable. But to flip off that, another team that I do really like is the Magic. I feel like that team is still really young. I do like the pick of Anthony Black. He's playing very well this summer league as well. Paulo Banchero was the rookie of the year last year. I expect bigger things from him. I really like Franz Wagner there. Wendell Carter Jr. is really good. This is a team that is really young and a very top-heavy East. This is a team that could progress a lot. They do kind of have a logjam at guards with Fultz, Suggs, Cole Anthony, now Anthony Black. So they could use some of those pieces maybe as trade bait or something to maybe get some more veterans or even younger stars in that system. And I think they could be good. They're also a team, if you see them as like a 6th seed, you wouldn't be like, that's not too crazy. They are really young and have a lot of talented players. So that's a team that I could think could be really good. And then a team that I had that fell off was also the Heat, barring that Dame trade. I do agree with what Kyle said. They didn't really do much to load up in the offseason, just kind of banking on getting Damian Lillard. And that's something that is very scary and very risky to do because at the end of the day, Damian Lillard doesn't get to pick where he's traded. It's not like he has a no trade clause that I'm aware of. So if the Trailblazers decide to trade him elsewhere, the Heat really have to kind of scramble and make some other moves or decide what else they want to do. Another team that I thought maybe fell off a little bit was the Knicks. I do think Dante DiVincenzo is an okay player. I'm not sure signing him for 4 years, $50 million is anything groundbreaking, anything that's going to set you over the hump. I still think you get beat by the Bucks. I still think you get beat by the 76ers. Still think you get beat by the Celtics. I don't think they did really anything to set them over the top or really set themselves up for future success. Trading Obi Toppin's cool. Just a younger piece. You didn't really get much back for him. So I think the Knicks are kind of one of those teams that kind of be stuck at a 5th, 4th, 6th seed area and not really make super big rumblings. They didn't set themselves up for any success for the future, I don't think.
The Villanova boys are in the house tonight. That's what that is. That's the
Which is
Villanova
nice. I do like that. I do love stories like that, but Dante DiVincenzo isn't like any big piece that's going to set you over the top for a championship, I don't think, at least. Maybe in college.
What they did last year, the moment when they traded for Josh Hart to the end of the year. And that addition of Josh Hart was huge for them. To add another player that knows the style in which they play, that plays the same style of basketball, that hustle, that grind, that grit. You have Josh Hart, you have Jalen Brunson, you have Dante DiVincenzo, the Nova boys. If the ball doesn't get stuck on El Stucco's hands, a.k.a. Julius Randle, they're going to be good. RJ Barrett is coming into his own. It's funny, but the Knicks are like created from blue bloods. Like if you really look at all the players on their team, they're all from blue blood colleges. You got Duke with Barrett. You have Nova with the Nova boys, all three of them, and then you have Randall went to Kentucky, right? It's blue blood. So they're all blue blood teams.
They got Quentin Grimes. He went to Kansas and Houston, but still went to Kansas.
Kansas is a blue blood.
Yep.
All right, well, Godfrey, who's gotten better? Who's gotten worse?
Well, who's gotten worse? I mean, the Atlanta Hawks, right? They're 41-41. I don't know what they're doing. You know, John Collins, I always kind of liked. I was hoping the Sixers could kind of get him or when the Ben Simmons trade was going on, things of that nature, but never happened. They traded him for next to nothing. Correct me if I'm wrong there, guys. But
Rudy Gay, a couple second-round picks, and then we ended up just trading Rudy Gay.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know what they're doing. It's in basketball, it sucks because of the way free agency is. It's like torture being stuck in like the 500 range or like mediocrity where you're in the middle of the pack. There's nothing to look forward to because you're just doing the same thing over and over again every year. Sixers are kind of on that realm right now, unfortunately. But the Hawks, nothing inspiring, and I don't know. Maybe you see Trae Young trying to force his way out of there soon, right? That might be the next move.
I'm a Hawks fan, and I can agree. This offseason has sucked. Like, I don't know what the direction of the team is. Like, it's cool that John Collins is gone. It's a big thorn on the Hawks fan side of having John Collins there because it feels like he's going to be traded every day. There's rumors about him being traded. So getting him out of there, just getting the rumor mill from him is good. But I don't know. I think they're kind of banking on trying to get like a big star like Pascal Siakam to kind of make some moves there. And just, it's always risky game planning. I don't like it.
Yeah, the other team that was notable to me that I don't want to say they're on the way down, but when I look at Zion Williamson, it reminds me of stories that Charles Barkley used to tell about Moses Malone when he would say like, "Hey, fat boy, you want to be better? You're fat." Like Barkley would talk about this, and I'm not trying to shame Zion, but listen, he's got a lot of potential, and whether he's healthy or on his game, like I think if he's doing what he should be able to do, they're a very formidable team. They have a good team, and Zion healthy will take them. I think they're a top 10 team personally. If Zion does what he's supposed to do, I just can't count on that, right? So, team that I think is getting better. I like the Kings, man. It kind of sucked how it went down for our last year. They didn't do a ton, but I don't think they needed to. I think they run it back, and I just think ending that playoff drought, with Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox. I mean, Keegan Murray, those guys. I liked what they did last year, and I think they run it back. I think they're going to be. I think they're kind of a forgotten story because of how it ended for them, and I kind of like their shot of cracking a top 10 team this year in the NBA.
See, I want to make a comment about the Zion thing, but I wanted to wait until you were finished. Zion, it's not just the weight, it's not just the injuries, it's the mentality, it's the maturity, and if I'm being completely honest with you, it's the lack of I guess emotional intelligence. Like I'm trying to word that properly, but you got a guy that is taking photos with his fiance who has a baby with an IG girl. A nice way I could put it. I'm trying to put this the right way. blasting him on Twitter like you were just doing this with me. You said you were going to move me out to New Orleans. The comment that stands out to me more than anything is, "Oh, I'm healthy." They asked him, "Are you going to play in the playoffs? Like, when do you feel like you'll be healthy enough to play?" He goes, "No, I'm 100% healthy. I'll just come back when I feel like Zion." That's what he said.
Yeah.
He said, "I'll come back when I feel like I'm Zion."
Zion Bynum. I like that comment. So, I mean, who
Also,
on the team? And like, listen, I like basketball, but some of you guys are more basketball deep than I am. Who on that team would you say is the PJ Tucker or the guy that's going to be like, "Listen, get your shit together"? Like, who's that person on the Pelicans team? Is there a veteran like
CJ
that?
McCollum, Brandon Ingram. I don't think it'd be. They're really young outside of McCollum and Ingram, really.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my point. They
Jonas
need a guy.
Valanciunas?
That's why I brought up the Charles Barkley Moses Malone story. You know, he was there with Charles Barkley early in his career, and you know, Charles ended up being a very legendary basketball player, but he could have been better because he was doing stupid shit like Zion was. If you read about it, and you know, he was being immature, and they need a veteran there to say, "Listen, dude, I don't think you're cute." Straight up, like, and that is invaluable in a locker room like that because they got a pretty young roster, right? And they got a lot of potential there. I don't think Zion's gonna listen to Brandon Ingram. Does anybody think that? I don't think so.
No.
There's nobody on that roster, and that's why I'm like, they could be good, but you know, that kind of attitude, like, there's got to be a veteran on the team that's gonna literally like take him in the locker room, and be like, "Listen, dude, this shit's not funny." Like,
I would hope that would have been Willie Green. And I really think Willie Green's a lot better coach than he gets credit for over in New Orleans. He has just dealt with a ton. And when the organization signs Zion Williamson as the number 1 draft pick and then re-signs him, your hands are tied. He's a cancer to that team. I really believe that. I don't think he's going to help them grow. And I would trade him for a bag of basketballs. Like, whatever you can get back at this point, just get rid of him. Get rid of the contract, create that max slot opening. I love their young core. And I don't think they have an issue with maturity with the rest of the team. Trey Murphy certainly doesn't have an issue with maturity. Grand Theft Alvarado is improved. TJ McCollum, you got Valanciunas over there. You don't need to really help him with his maturity. It's Zion. When you use a number 1 pick on a guy and you build your team around him, and he's averaging 29 points a game through 29 games in the NBA season, but then he can't play. And then when they ask him when you're going to be too healthy enough to play, and he goes, "When I feel like I'm Zion, that's when I'll come back." I need to like understand how that just went through the media. Like he didn't say it. The lack of coverage on that line is beyond me. It sounded like Ben Simmons all over again. Well, you know, I have to, like, he gets his back checked out. Like, "No, you're fine." Doctor's like, "You're good." He's, nah, my just back stiffness. Like, do you remember the story? And I'm not kidding with you. Do you remember the story with Ben Simmons where, like, he came back to the team and pretended he was exposed to COVID just to try to get out of playing in an NBA playoff game? Do you guys remember that story?
No,
I don't.
But
I believe it. I believe it.
They tested him and he was negative, but like he pretended he was exposed to COVID by a barber, and he essentially was trying to use it to not play in the Hawks series.
I wish I could get
mentally he was broken.
I wish I could get in a DeLorean and fly back in time when the Sixers had a chance to sign Jimmy Butler and just somehow take out Ben Simmons from signing that max deal and be like, "Oh, you know, don't do it," because, you know, he was showing little signs here or there. And you got to believe your eyes sometimes. And, you know, if you're a fan of a team, you know, you're going to have a little bias built in and you're hoping for the positive outcome. But them was showing little signs of this stuff. And you know, that whole attitude, man, it can wreck a team. Your best ability is your availability, right? You have to be available. And that's what's killing Zion. Like, you know, he can be good, but like someone's got to put their foot up his ass.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. Guys, it's beating a dead horse when you're talking about Zion Williamson and Ben Simmons and guys that just don't love basketball. It's I do love this though. Cool said top 2 picks, buns and guns. I love the new nickname for the Memphis Grizzlies, and it's really terrible. It's not a nickname that Memphis is giving them, but the signing of Derrick Rose, you got Ja Morant, so you have the modern day Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, I saw that.
God.
It was hilarious.
I'm hype about that. All right.
I bet you the announcer doesn't have the balls that the Memphis Grizzlies play Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses when I would do it. I would get fired for it. I don't care. It's worth the moment.
Well, we're moving to the NFL. And I think Kyle, guys, I just want to give you Kyle's email address. Kyle, post your email address. I'm kidding. Kyle, for most overrated quarterback of all time, decided he wanted to put a graphic up with Joe Montana, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, I'm not going to keep going. My point being is, Kyle, what are you doing?
Look, okay. All I did was I just put up some quarterback images. Hey, maybe there's somebody out there who's watching who thinks Tom Brady's overrated. Maybe this makes their day. I don't know. So. Yeah.
If someone's listening at a VFW, you put an Otto Graham and Johnny Unitas on there, you just set that whole bar off.
I'm
riding.
kidding.
They're like 70 riding in there.
He just has a quarterback graphic for us, so I'm just kidding with you, Kyle. Godfrey, this is your question. You're filling in for Mo this week. We're missing Mo. No one hated on your Pacers, Dylan. Stop it. Don't even post this comment. Guy can't even be mature in the damn chat. Who hired this guy? All right. So your question, do you know it, or should you want me to read it for you?
Who's the most overrated quarterback of all time?
That is correct. Who is the most overrated quarterback of all time? I have two answers. I will digress and I will go last. Godfrey, it's your turn. You can pick the order, but I would like to go last. If you could appease the court.
Sure. I'll go first.
No, give us the order. You can go first, but
so we're picking one, right? Or we gotta pick two?
You can pick 1, 2, it doesn't matter. Who's the most overrated quarterback of all time?
Joe Namath. 1,000%.
He went Broadway Joe.
Damn it.
I like it.
Listen, he's been living off that 1969 game for his life. Let me give you a few stats. Career completion percentage, 50.1. Touchdowns, 173 to 220 interceptions. Mm-hmm. Led the league in interceptions 4 times, 27, 28, 22, 28. And that was in the beginning and toward the end of his career. So I don't want to hear when he got old. Yeah, the game was different then, but he was awful. His Super Bowl year, it wasn't even really that great. 51 completion percentage, 2,700 yards. And, I'm capping it a little bit because I know it's a little bit different a game. 19 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. I mean, he has, I don't know, man. There's nothing really impressive about Broadway Joe's career, except he guaranteed that win and they won. And he's been living off of it his whole career. He's probably the most overrated quarterback that's in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, I have a bunch. Who do you guarantee that's one of Gene's? I want to know. Are you talking about Bradshaw, who you posted? I'll get there. I'll feed you, baby bird. Who's next on the agenda, Godfrey?
Wow, Bradshaw.
Well, if you said Joe Namath,
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Kyle.
I actually thought you were reading Bradshaw's stat line when you read Namath. Wait till you hear it. I have it up. I have it available. Kyle, go ahead, bud. Wait till you hear it.
All right. So when I thought about this question, I mean, Freddie might not like this answer. I went to Eli Manning. And I feel like the overrated nation with him is, 1, his last name's Manning. That carries a lot of weight. I get it. But 2, because he was the quarterback of the Giants teams that beat those Patriots teams that a lot of people are celebrating when the Patriots lost. I think Manning's been boosted to this level like he's this automatic first ballot Hall of Famer, and I think if you were really be honest about it, he's not. Number 1, he's a 500 quarterback, literally 117. He's had 6 playoff appearances in his 16 years. And if you take the 2 Super Bowl years out, which obviously you can't, but he's 0-4 in the playoffs. So with the Super Bowls, he's 8-4 as a playoff quarterback. He's been to 4 Pro Bowls in 16 years. Like let's be real about it. And if you let Eli Manning in, there's a quarterback who used to play for the Falcons and Matt Ryan that a lot of people in Atlanta think was kind of an overrated bum. Matt Ryan had better numbers than Eli Manning. So you let Eli Manning in, you got to let Matt Ryan in, Phillip Rivers. So I think, most people would say probably is one, but I think some people have questions about him. He had a way better career than Eli Manning. And yeah, so if Matt Ryan or Phillip Rivers you have questions about, then Eli Manning cannot be a first ballot Hall of Famer because he's just not that guy. Yes, he has the 2 Super Bowl MVPs as well, but let's be real, those defenses won those. He threw, the helmet pass and then the pass to Manningham, which are 2 great plays, but I wouldn't give him those MVPs. So he's the overrated guy for me.
Okay. I love Eli Manning as a pick for you. I have mine all set up. I hope Bino's listening. I hope it. There he is. Dylan, go ahead, bud.
So, I mean, I picked Joe Namath as well, not to be the dead horse, but yeah, 62 and 63 in his total career. That's not good, especially for someone that is in the Hall of Fame. Imagine your win percentage being below 500 and you're still in the Hall of Fame. Also, just another stat line, 65.5 total QBR in his career. That's not great either. That Super Bowl that he won, he didn't even score a single touchdown in that game. I think I agree with what excuse me, what was said about Joe Namath. I don't think he's really. I think he's the worst quarterback to be in the Hall of Fame, really. I don't think he was ever really that good or anything too flashy. I think he's kind of living off of that Super Bowl high. Not really to beat a dead horse, but yeah, Joe Namath, Trent Dilfer also, of course. Just to piss Jordan off, Joe Flacco.
I don't think they're overrated. I just think that they were just they just won a Super
they're
Bowl.
just in good situations, but bad quarterbacks kind of just were there.
Gentlemen, I'm going to give you the first one. You guys talked about Joe Namath, but let me ask you a question real quick. Do you think on an all-time quarterback list, more people rank Joe Namath higher or Terry Bradshaw?
Probably Bradshaw.
Bradshaw, right? It's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Okay. Got a stat line for you. Hey, do you still have those stats for Joe Namath?
I threw them in the garbage, but I can get them in they're right there. I got them.
Okay. So how many touchdowns did Joe Namath have? How many interceptions?
173, 220.
73 touchdowns, 220, yeah.
Okay. What was his completion percentage?
50.1.
Terry Bradshaw, 51.9 completion percentage, 212 touchdowns, and 210 interceptions. How many yards did Namath throw for?
27,663.
27,989. Gentlemen, I understand the 70s, that throwing the football was different. I get it. But 212 and 210, and he's considered one of the top 10 greatest quarterbacks of all time. Are you guys out of your friggin' mind? Okay, let's just go with the eye test, guys. You guys don't know what I'm about to say for the next one, and that's okay. But I want to play quarterback A, quarterback B, blind resume. And I need you guys to just not try to overthink this one. I want you to answer. Who sounds better? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Quarterback A had a 61.5 completion percentage, 165 touchdowns, 141 interceptions, an 81.6 quarterback rating for his career with 32,942 yards. Quarterback B had a 57.9% completion percentage, 27,602 yards, 154 touchdowns to 113 interceptions with an 82.4% quarterback rating. Would you rather have quarterback or A or B? Just wondering. I'll read them again. You want me to read them again? You guys put them together? I'll read them again for you. Ready? Quarterback A, 61% completion percentage, 33,000 yards, 165 touchdowns, 141 interceptions with an 81.6 quarterback rating. Quarterback B, 58% completion percentage, 27,600 yards, 154 touchdowns, 113 interceptions with an 82.4% completion percent, or 82.4% quarterback rating. You going A or B? Not knowing wins, losses, not knowing Super Bowls, nothing. What are you going, A or B there? Sagan went B, okay.
I think I'm going to go B on this one as well.
Okay. Charlton went B.
I'm going to go B as well.
Godfrey, B.
Yeah, B.
Quarterback A, and what I did was I make sure I picked two quarterbacks from the exact same era.
Mm-hmm.
Quarterback A, Troy Aikman. Quarterback B, Jeff George.
Ugh.
Just take a second, soak it in. Troy Aikman played with the greatest offensive line ever to play the game. He had the third or fourth best running back ever to play the game. He had a top 10 wide receiver ever to play the game. He had a top 5 defense with Charles Haley ever. Those 90s Cowboys were the example of what a game manager could be. Yes, Troy was accurate. But what he reminds me of, and I don't mean that if Jeff George was given the same offense that Troy Aikman was, are we talking about Jeff George as an all-time quarterback? And the answer is yes. He had the arm talent, but he played in Atlanta and Oakland and all these scrub areas to play at. That's not his fault. He played for crap franchises. Guys, Troy Aikman gets compared to Steve Young. Let me read this to you. 33,000 yards. They both had 33,000 yards. Steve Young threw 232 touchdowns to 107 interceptions. Troy Aikman threw 150 or 165 to 141. They're in the same era. Okay, Bino, throw his up. Highest completion percentage ever in Super Bowls. Who had the greatest playoff run in the history of the NFL? Statistically. He had 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions in the playoffs at 130 quarterback rating. Anybody want to know? I'll give you a hint. It's Jordan's favorite team. It's Joe Flacco. He had one of the greatest runs ever. So great. I'm glad that Eli Manning and Joe Flacco can take a situation where their team carries them. They have a hot postseason, and then they could be one of the 10 to 15 greatest quarterbacks of all time. That's not how it works. I'm glad. Nick Foles had a great run, right? Anybody considering him a top 15 quarterback? Is Nick Foles a Hall of Famer to you guys?
No.
That's what this is.
Hall of Famer.
Troy Aikman is brutally bad, statistically, based on where he is rated versus where he's at. It's the most overrated quarterback ever to play the game because he played for Dallas, because he played for one of the greatest teams ever. He had Jimmy Johnson, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin. That offensive line was ridiculous. Kyle, you ever see the question? And I don't mean it. I'm going to go on a tangent right now. I knew I was going to go on this tangent. Did you ever see the question where they go, would you rather have $1 million or you get $10 million if you can run for 10 yards in an NFL game with 10 carries? You guys have seen that question before, right? My answer would be no. I'm not running for 10 yards. I'm going to take my $1 million unless I'm running behind the Cowboys offensive line. If I'm running behind that line, I'll take the bet all day.
Right.
Kyle, you can get 10 yards behind that line. No doubt in my mind.
Yeah, I could.
Most overrated quarterback ever to play the game, Troy Aikman. Close second be Terry Bradshaw. Joe Namath's a great pick, by the way.
Yeah.
Great pick. I don't want to discredit that. Joe Namath's a great pick.
Can I give you a overrated playoff QB?
Sure, yeah.
This might anger some people, but one of the most overrated playoff QBs until he went on a couple runs toward the end of his career with a team where he wasn't really the same guy. Peyton Manning.
I mean, I don't think anybody overrates his playoff career.
Well, listen, I mean, he's a great quarterback, one of the best of all time, no doubt about that, right? But when you bring up the Eli Manning argument, I definitely hate the Giants. I'm going to tell you right now, it's my most hated team, if anybody knows me. So I hate Eli, and I do think the David Tyree pass was the luckiest pass you've ever seen in football history. Like he was looking backwards when he threw that almost. But that being said, 8-4 in the playoffs. Wasn't in the playoffs as often until Peyton Manning got to the Broncos. He didn't have a ton of playoff wins. He had he had the one in 06. Before that, one and done, 2-1, 1-1, 0-1, 4-0, then 0-1, 0-1, 2-1, 0-1, 0-1. He had a lot of, for as great as he was, he had a lot of one and done playoff games. And it wasn't the defense. If you look at his stats in some of these games, you're like, wow, that looks pedestrian. If I gave you the stat lines from these playoff games, you'd be like, that's not Peyton Manning. No way. But, it just goes to show you. Great quarterback, one of the greatest of all time, but stats lie sometimes, right? I mean, the Jeff George thing got me. He had a rocket for an arm, but he sucked. I mean, he was like, I don't know, man. He was like gonorrhea for football. Everybody was like, oh,
it's just crazy because Peyton Manning, Dan Marino, and Troy Aikman, would you consider them around the same playing times? Like around the same as overall, like when they came into the league, the same era of football?
Yeah.
Dan Marino had 420 touchdowns and 252 picks with 61,000 yards.
Amazing.
Like are we really comparing Troy Aikman to these guys? Troy Aikman's a top 75 quarterback. I'm not kidding with you. Quarterbacks I would take over Troy Aikman in current NFL. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert. And I'm going to get real disrespectful here. Lamar Jackson, Derek Carr. I would.
That's truth, not disrespect. I'm sorry. Some people can't handle it.
I don't know.
Jordan's in Louisville, New York, jumping up and down right now about that comment.
That's okay. You said overrated quarterback in the playoffs was Peyton Manning. I just think he was a bad quarterback in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think Ty Law has a picture of like Peyton Manning in a little baby bottle, and he's standing over him like, I'm your daddy. Do you guys remember that playoff game?
I do.
The Ty Law game, 21-3?
I know Kyle does.
I for sure do, yes.
Kyle scored 21-3, right?
Yep.
I remember because I was there.
Hey man, I remember that Super Bowl performance against Seattle. That wasn't too great either.
Yeah, that's the thing about Eli. I remember watching games. I'm like, how are they running through the playoffs?
And somebody in the chat did say, the Broncos. Yeah.
But look, when they beat the Pats, you got to give it to the Giants. That playoffs where they made it to the Super Bowl with Amani Toomer, who is a very good receiver, as their number one, and they ran through everybody in the playoffs on the road. I mean, that's one of the all-time playoff runs ever for a football team on the road. I mean, and then you run it. I was rooting for the Pats. I wanted to see a perfect season. People said I was crazy, but I can't root for the Giants to win. I'm sorry, I just can't do it. So I don't know. That's Eli. I love watching the Eagles beat him, especially in the playoffs. I think two of his four playoff losses were against the Eagles. But I mean, yeah, man, playoff performance. I mean, listen, one of the Super Bowls people don't talk about as often is Dan Marino, Joe Montana, 1984. Everybody was talking about how Marino was better than this Montana kid, and Montana absolutely waxed the Dolphins.
Let's not pretend that Eli Manning had a great Super Bowl and that he won that Super Bowl versus the
D-line won. The D-line won.
19. He was 19 for 34 for 255, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception with 2 fumbles. Like that's not. Sorry, bro. No.
Yeah, no. The D-line won it. Remember in that playoffs though. The Cowboys, Jerry Jones, the owner, put NFC Championship tickets on his players' benches before they played that Giants game. I don't know if you guys knew about that or remember that, but Tom Coughlin was talking about an interview the other day. Literally went in there, didn't tell anybody to press, and put NFC Championship tickets on their stools before the game. And the Giants found out. So, bulletin board material goes a long way, even for mediocre quarterbacks like Eli. Eli is definitely not a first ballot Hall of Famer. There's no doubt about it. He's not. He's just not. Like if his last name was, he's like Ken Anderson, but he won a couple of Super Bowls. If his last name was something else besides Manning, we're not even having this discussion, to be honest. I mean, it's the truth. He's benefiting from that last name for sure.
100%. We got one more question, and we got the Big Tom show coming up tonight at 8:00. So let's go into the last question of the night. This is my question. And it's a very interesting question. I really love this type of question. But which rookie, and you can't use quarterbacks, which offensive rookie and defensive rookie has the biggest impact in their first year? I'm not saying who's going to be the best pro. I'm not saying who's going to have the Hall of Fame career, but which rookie from the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball has the biggest impact to the season? Kyle, why don't you start us off?
All right, so I think offensively, biggest impact, Jordan Addison. I think with him, Justin Jefferson is going to get a lot of attention. Kirk Cousins is a good regular season quarterback, so he'll put up numbers. And I think because of that, Addison's going to get a lot of catches, a lot of opportunities in his rookie year. So that's my offensive guy. Defensively, I was stuck between a couple, but I might go Devin Witherspoon here. And I think with the season, I figured you would like that, Dylan. But looking at the season that Tariq Woolen had last year, you're pairing Witherspoon with him. Some teams might want to test Witherspoon early, and I feel like they might be doing that to the detriment of their team. And I could see him getting some picks early in the season and maybe being a defensive rookie of the year type of guy. I don't know, but those are the two I thought of when that question was posed. So that's what I'll go with.
I have normal picks and I have off the wall picks.
Okay.
So I'll go second here because I have normal picks. My normal picks, right, are Devin Witherspoon and Jahmyr Gibbs. They're two easy ones, right? Devin Witherspoon is the best corner to come out of this draft. He is everything that Sauce Gardner was last year. The guy is going to be elite. He'll be on anybody's top 10 list next year for corners. I think what he does with Tariq Woolen on the other side is going to be silly in Seattle. Love him as a player. He's good at everything. The guy can tackle. The guy can get after. But I don't think he has the biggest impact out of all rookies. I'm starting defensively, and I'll go offensive. Detroit fans, you might love me right now. I think Jack Campbell has the biggest impact this year. He's going to walk in and start at middle linebacker for Detroit. He's going to walk in behind a defensive line that has Aiden Hutchinson on it, and he's going to make a ton of tackles for Detroit. Jack Campbell is an instinctual player, an old school middle linebacker. I really think that he has the biggest impact this year defensively. Now, the best player is Devin Witherspoon. Offensively, I talked about Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs isn't the best running back in this class. Not second best running back in this class, in my opinion. He's not the third best running back in this class, in my opinion. But he went to the best situation. Look at what happened last year with Jamal Williams. Anybody think Jamal Williams is a top 10 running back? Just raise your hand. If you think he's top 10 running back in the league, Jamal Williams. The answer is no. He had 17, 18, 19 touchdowns last year. Are you kidding me? DeAndre Swift, if he didn't get hurt, was also very productive in the games in which he played. Gibbs is going to play a little bit of both of that role. David Montgomery is going to be a true backup. Detroit is going to try to show everyone why they invested such high capital in Jahmyr Gibbs. However, I think there's a running back that's better than him, that went later than him, that is walking into a better situation. And that's Devin Achane from Texas A&M. This kid is a speedster. He's a trackster, and he's playing on a track team. You got Cheetah, Waddle, Achane. That kid, if they don't go out and make a mistake by bringing in Dalvin Cook, an old washed running back, they go out and actually let that kid play. Devin Achane should be the best player, offensive rookie in this class. Now, a little bit of an honorable mention. I don't want to steal everyone's. I think I could pick Seattle on both sides of the ball for everything.
Yep.
I do. I can't understand why they picked the guy, but it makes no sense why they drafted Zach Charbonnet, because in my opinion, he's the best running back in the entire class. The problem is he's not going to be as productive because he's behind Kenneth Walker. But if you look at what Seattle did in a slot receiver role, Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to be running the slot. I want you to go up and look at 2020. I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to pull it up for you because I love you. 2021 Jackson, Smith, and Jigba stats. That's the year he sat next to
Wilson.
100%, right? Was it 2021 or 2022?
It was the 2022 season. 2023 he was out with a hamstring. 2022 is when he had 1,600 yards.
Here we go. 1,600 yards receiving in college football in less games. Playing in the slot with Wilson and Olave. He's walking into the same situation with a big receiver like DK Metcalf and a possession first down receiver and Tyler Lockett. You throw him in the slot and he's a nightmare. So those are my picks. Listen, you don't give me the nickname the NFL Genius and me not come hard NFL time.
I mean, do you believe in a repeat though of Geno Smith?
I don't think he's a bad quarterback. So I don't think a lot. So let me just be clear. I don't think he's as good as he played at the peak of his performance last year. But I don't think he ever was a bad quarterback. I think he was in a bad situation. Let's go back and look at Geno Smith's career. Geno Smith played under a Rex Ryan-led offense. You want to look at other quarterbacks that played behind Rex Ryan-led offenses? How's Mark Sanchez's career turn out?
I think they drafted Charbonnet because they're going to go – they're a run-heavy style offense, and I think they're going to bank on the run more to take Geno out of the position to fail because I think if your offense – and you're passing more and Geno's your quarterback, your odds of winning the game are going to go down. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but he's not going to win you a game with his arm. You need him to be a guy that's not going to make any mistakes throwing the football and let the defense play, let the run game do what they're going to do. I mean, I think they're going to use both of these running backs in Seattle a lot.
I hope so, and I think Pete Carroll runs the ball a ton. I think they had the most I think they had the most rushing plays in the NFL last year, which is great. You look at what happened with Brock Purdy, guys. I'm not like, there's no one here shitting on Brock Purdy. Calm down. But Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant, and San Fran put him in the right position to win. Geno Smith really can't fail. You have 3 wide receivers that are going to win any man-to-man coverage, one-on-ones. They're going to win that. You have 2 running backs that can run behind. Their offensive line's improved. He can't fail. They're in a good organization. And if you're talking about Geno Smith's overall stats, let me just read them to you real quick, just to be clear. Geno Smith for the Seattle Seahawks in 3 years there. 3 years there. He has a 94.2, a 103, and a 100 quarterback rating. This is not a mistake. It's not a joke. It's not something that is coming out of the blue. He's just in a better system with a better offense. He played with Rex Ryan his first 3 years. You can't consider playing behind Rex Ryan and Adam Gase to tell the full story of what Geno Smith is.
Yeah, I don't think it tells the full story, but I also think just the Jets years don't tell the full story on it too. He didn't go right from the Jets there too. You got to be in a better situation. I agree. Certain quarterbacks aren't going to be able to carry a team, but I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I am not fully convinced that he can repeat year over year. I mean,
it's fair. I don't think he'll repeat year over year. I think he'll be decent. I just think Pete Carroll's a proven winner. And I think the Seattle Seahawks organization is proving you time and time again that they find talent in the draft. So, Dylan, what's your thoughts?
So, yeah, I mean, my pick, obviously, I was trying to stay away from homer picks, but a couple of my other picks went. So, yeah, Jackson Smith and Jigba is obviously the player that I think is going to be very great when it comes to this this NFL season. Gene basically said everything perfectly. He's going into a role where he's going to be very comfortable with 2 great receivers who do other things that he might not be particularly the greatest at very well. DK Metcalf being that big body receiver can go up and get it. Tyler Lockett being your smaller route running possession type guy. He's just going to fill right into the slot. Seattle's a very big run first team, but they also do run a lot of play action, which is going to be perfect for JSN down the middle of the field. Seattle hasn't really had much of a mid-threat receiver. That's kind of our big problem when it comes to play action, is because it seems like we can only get to the outsides. That's why we saw a lot of Russell Wilson deep balls. It's because that's the only thing that our receivers can mainly do. The middle of the field's been open through a lot of different games last year. Even the years before that, Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to carve up the middle of that field so well. And if we get to the point at the end of the season where he has 1,200 and 1,300 yards and he's never went outside the numbers once, besides to just run the ball, he's catching them all in the middle of the field and going up the field and scoring, or just getting tons of yards, I wouldn't be surprised. I think he's going to be put into a really great situation. I do agree with the questions about Geno. My biggest problem as a Seahawks fan is his consistency. He doesn't have what I would say a clutch gene at all. It seems like in big moments he does seem to shamble, and maybe getting a little bit of extra insurance could help, could be a downfall. It just depends on Geno, but I think JSN will be a great piece there. And then on the defense side, I know Gene's going to like this one. Jalen Carter. It's just a great situation for a defensive lineman like Jalen Carter to be drafted where he was. He's being drafted with familiarity, and he's going to be drafted with really, really good I'll read that in a second. Do you think, and he's going to get drafted with really, really good veteranship in Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham. He's someone who's going to be kind of like a jolt on that defense, someone that you might not necessarily have to be ready to game plan for every night because that defensive line is so stacked as it is. And he could just come in and wreck games just out of nowhere. It's a big luxury piece for this Philadelphia Eagles defense that could just bolster and be even bigger for them in the long run. So I think Jalen Carter is going to be really good. Another player that I like is Cam Smith, another cornerback that got drafted to Miami. It was a first-round talent as a corner, in my opinion. He's going to be put into another great situation with having Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey on the other side. He's going to play slot and be a lockdown in that slot. He's going to help in that pass protection a lot. I think he's going to be a great pick there with great mentors. And then another player that I really like is another corner, and Joey Porter Jr. I think he's also a player that got put into a great situation. Pittsburgh is lacking a little bit on that secondary side. I'm pretty sure they lost Cam Sutton in free agency and different things like that. So he's going to be looked at as more as a true corner, someone who's going to be looked at early, someone who's probably going to get picked on. So he's going to have a lot of time to shine in that role. And Pittsburgh's usually pretty good at having good defensive, good cornerbacks who maybe not be super big names, play very well there. So I think Joey Porter Jr. is going to have a good season there as well. 2
points before Godfrey goes. One, I think Cam Smith by year 3 or year 4 will be your safety, and I think he'll end up being a safety over in Miami. That's just 1 point about him. But I want to read you a Geno Smith stat because I was looking at it when I was going over what you guys were talking about. So Geno Smith has 1,578 pass attempts in his career. Through his first 810 pass attempts, Geno Smith had 25 touchdowns and 34 interceptions. For his next 768 pass attempts, anybody want to guess what his touchdown interception ratio is? 39 and 14 touchdown to interception ratio. This is his career, guys. I'm just reading his career. 25 and 34 for his first 810, 39 and 14 for his next 768 pass attempts. He's gotten better. And he had the line of the year last year, guys. They wrote me off, but I ain't right back. It's the line of the year. Can't argue it. Godfrey.
So my impact rookie on offense, it's going to be pretty obvious, but it's got some drama around it. It's Bijan. You know, Arthur Smith, you could see he's trying to rebuild the Titans offense. They're going to lean on the run game. I don't believe for a second that Desmond Ridder is going to be their quarterback. And my hot take on this is I think somehow, because he's in his last year of his contract, they're going to trade for Ryan Tannehill. I'm telling you, it's possible. They have an out this year in the contract. And he's their former offensive coordinator in Tennessee. I think he's trying to recreate the offense that was in Tennessee. And he's going to be impactful in many ways. If he doesn't pop off like they hope he does, Arthur Smith is gone. 100%. He's gone.
Godfrey, to your point, what was their wide receiver one over in Tennessee in his offense? was A.J. Brown.
Right.
They have Drake London. What was their running back one? It was Derrick Henry. They drafted Bijan Robinson. What were the Titans known for? A tough offensive line. I seen a comment earlier where Chris Charlton said the Falcons don't have a good offensive line. I'm here to tell you that's an absolute fallacy.
Yeah, they have like one of the best. I would love to have the Falcons offensive line.
Jake Matthews, Matthew Bergeron, Chris Lidstrom, Caleb McGarry, Drew Dahlman. I'll take that offensive line over 70% of offensive lines in football.
Arthur Smith.
They blocked for an offensive line last year that had Tyler Algier run for over 1,000 yards.
Yep. And they want to. What Arthur Smith loves to do and what he did at Tennessee is he loves play action pass. And if you have a running back like Bijan, you need a quarterback to can execute the play action pass. Do I believe Desmond Ridder is that guy? No, I do not. So they're going to have to get someone that's available. And I'm telling you right now, the Titans have to be in rebuild mode. They might not say they're not, but they have to be. If you can unload that and get some draft capital for Ryan Tannehill, they'll absolutely do it. I mean, I'm looking at the number right now. It's they're out as they'll only have 18 million a day cap. Otherwise, they're paying them 36 mil. Right? So that's a pretty good out right there. Okay.
They're talking about cutting Malik Willis over Will Levis because both of them have been terrible. Malik Willis was terrible last year. Will Levis has looked worse than Malik Willis so far in the draft and camp this year. They're talking about cutting Malik Willis and not making the team. Why would you not want to save $18 million, dump Tannehill's contract, and see what you have with those two quarterbacks this year?
Yeah,
that would be silly.
Yeah, and so that's that he could have Bijan's gonna have a big impact because he's part of that build a piece. I do think they'll be successful. I think that there'll be a surprise in that division actually, and watch out for the Falcons. And he's trying to recreate that offense. He wants to do play action, and Ryan Tannehill is very excellent at play action. Say what you want about him, but he's a good play action quarterback. So I think he's gonna have a huge impact. And Bijan is, behind that offensive line, the sky's the limit. I don't think anybody. I know it's an easy one, but does anybody disagree with me there?
I disagree. I think Bijan Robinson is not the best running back in this draft. I've said that before the draft. I'll say it now. I know it's a hot take, and he's walking into a good situation. I think that there'll be 3 running backs, in my personal opinion, that have better years than Bijan. That are 2 that are rookies, and 3 that are within their first 2 years of playing in the NFL.
I don't disagree with you, but Bijan is more Derrick Henry-like than a Zach Charbonnet is.
I wouldn't say Derrick Henry. It's
well,
not what I would classify Bijan Robinson as.
He's not Derrick Henry, but he's a tougher runner, I think.
I'm going to reel you in right now. You're comparing Bijan Robinson to Derrick Henry. Let's get back to the drawing board here. That's not what he is.
It's not what he is, but that's the piece that they look at. He's trying to, like I said, he's recreating the Tennessee offense. He's not a 1-for-1.
I agree.
He's not just like him, but that's he's going to get closer to that with, I believe, Bijan than he is with Zach Charbonnet. I think Zach Charbonnet, I think he's a better pass catcher than Bijan Robinson in my mind. I think he's more well-rounded. Yeah, Gene put me on him, and I was looking at him, and I wanted the Eagles to get this guy, but didn't happen. I'm happy the way it worked out, but he's definitely got a lot of hype going on. So, I got my thoughts on Jahmyr Gibbs, but that's a whole other thing. But I think he's gonna have a big impact. It's that piece that they needed, and he wanted a running back like that, and they weren't happy with Algier.
Give me your defensive rookie.
My defensive rookie, I don't want to go Jalen Carter. I do. And let me it's my dog in the background. I don't know why she's barking right now.
We had no idea. We had no idea.
Yeah, you didn't hear it? Okay, good.
Yeah, we can. We're just kidding.
I think I like Gonzalez from the Patriots.
Christian Gonzalez is a great pick.
Yeah, I like Gonzalez from the Patriots. I think Gonzalez can make an impact on that team very quickly. And I think he was one of the better cornerbacks coming out of the draft, and moved down in round 1, and then they got this guy, and I think he's going to fit right into the Patriots like a glove. There's some other things that the Patriots haven't done that I'm like, whoa, what are they doing? But as far as that goes, I think that was a great move by them, and I think he can make impact right away.
Well, do you know why he's going to make such an impact right away? because the Bill Belichick's got like style defense, they're going to have Jonathan Jones on the other side with double coverage, and they're going to end up Christian Gonzalez is going to end up playing the number 2 wide receiver. The style of defense that New England plays is they allow your number 1 cornerback to take out your number 2 wide receiver, and then they double the number 1. So that's conducive to what Christian Gonzalez is going to do. I agree with you. Guys, we only have 5 minutes left, not even 5 minutes, because I'd like to wrap up before, give everybody time to use the bathroom, because big time is coming up next, 8 p.m. on the Sports Empire Network. So what I want to ask everybody is, any final thoughts, NFL, NBA, or if you want to plug anything, I'm going to round it to you guys real quick. Let's give everybody 15 seconds, and then we'll wrap up so you guys can get time to listen to Big Time tonight. Kyle, the Prince of Production, why don't you start us off?
No, I mean, nothing much to say. I mean, great show. I mean, you know, I'm always here on Sports Empire Network. You know, Sheep Sheets on Mondays, got Big 3 Tuesdays, and can't wait for pregame pigskin to come back, because, I mean, once that's back, you know NFL season's right around the corner, and I obviously cannot wait for that. But, yeah, that's all I got. Great show.
Dylan Reed, tell us. Listen, I will say this. There's been a war, and it's funny because Kyle and Dylan are on both shows, and I love this. This is a great war. It's a great war. There's been a war on the downloads on Spotify between the Big 3 and Cheap Seats. They're the top 2 shows on Sports Empire Network right now for downloads through the Sports Empire Network download platform. So if you're listening right now, go on Spotify, go download the last 15 shows of Cheap Seats, just so we can beat the Big 3 out. Because if you're arguing who's better between me and Jordan, you're out of your friggin' mind. I'm kidding, Jordan. I love you. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Tell us about the Big 3 tomorrow night.
Yeah, so Bill, of course, we got the Big 3 tomorrow. Me, Kyle, Jordan, and Jake. Of course, that's a great show. We go over big topics from NBA, MLB, NFL. We get a lot of our comment section involved. But overall, it's a great time. Other than that, I have really nothing big. Enjoyed UFC over the current weekend. Gonna enjoy this current stretch of UFC we're gonna have. Just nothing but straight great fights. But overall, yeah, I'm just doing good. Getting ready for college football. Love college football more than I love the NFL, so I'm getting really excited for college football again. And yeah, just kind of waiting. Ready for this home run derby.
That's Sports Empire Network on Spotify and Cheap Seats Podcast. If you give us 5 downloads, I will have DoorDash deliver nothing to your house. Just kidding. Nice. Godfrey, tell the listeners about you, and then we'll wrap it up.
I'm the Godfrey, THEEGODFRUY. You will catch me on Birds Deep is coming to the Sports Empire Network for all our Eagles fans, and Pregame at Pigskin, and here and there on some of the other shows. Closing thought, I just want to give a message to DeAndre Hopkins. Go to the Chiefs. Don't do it. Don't go to the Titans. Don't go to the Patriots. What are you thinking? It's time to win. Leave Bill O'Brien.
Shut up.
Go to the Chiefs.
Shut up.
I'd rather the Chiefs get him.
No,
listen,
I'm talking from
a fantasy football perspective here. I'd rather him go to the Chiefs.
You just committed sacrilege to an Eagles fan. I don't want to hear it. We're done.
He can do phenomenal in the regular
season. You just mic, Kyle. I'm done with him. I'm kidding. Well, we got big time shows coming up next. It's 7:58. I'm Gene Walzak. Wire to Wire comes on Wednesday night. That's the Prince of Production, Kyle Edwards. Dylan Reed from the Big 3 and Cheap Seats. And THEE joining us from Mo. We are Pregame and Pigs. I'm kidding. We are the Cheap Seats Podcast, and we are signing out.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Peace.